Welcome to the Council of Moms, where we take listener questions and we answer those questions together as moms. I'm Lisa Valentine Clark. I am a widowed mom of 5 kids. I have 3 kids who are adults and 2 who are teenagers trying to become adults. It's kind of a tricky parenting phase, but I love being a mom and I love hosting the Lisa Show and this Council of Moms. So that's a little bit about me. And also with us today we have...
I'm Cassie Barger, and I am a adoptive mom of 3, also a bonus mom. Some people call it a stepmom, but it's just an extra person to love when you call it a bonus mom.
I like that.
And I do content creation for Pinterest and Michelle Gifford.
Nice.
Yeah.
My name's Amy Sunderland. I'm mom of 4. I've got a 14-year-old boy and 10-year-old twins and a 4-year-old girl. So 3 girls and a boy. And I work in finance. I'm a mutual fund manager. So kind of been a working mom my whole life.
My name is Clarissa Greenwalt. I am new to the club. I have a 4-month-old baby, so she's awesome, so sweet. And I just got accepted to PA school, and I graduate with my bachelor's with my undergrad in medical lab. In I'm counting down the days, 9 more days.
Okay, good luck. That's amazing. Well, I'm so glad that we have everybody here. We've gotten just a wide range of questions from the listeners of things that I think have surprised me, things that I'm like, oh, yeah, this comes up a lot. And just, questions that people are really wondering about that you need outside perspectives on, because there's only so much you can figure out yourself and just keep ruminating over and over and over again. And I think this is one of them. This is one that I've asked myself at different times in my life. I've been mothering for 25 years now, and I still have this question. So this one's personal. Okay, this is from Marisol in Amarillo, Texas. I hate cooking, and my husband doesn't care much for it either. It feels like every week we struggle to come up with a food plan for us and our kids. We can never come up with enough new ideas, and then the next week comes and Boulder just rolls back down the hill, and we have to do it all over again. Does it ever get better? Do you have any tips for feeding a family so that it doesn't feel like a miserable Groundhog Day deciding what to eat every day? I mean, isn't this the ultimate Council of Moms questions?
Yeah.
I just think when my kids were little, I was because I don't hate to cook, but it's always a struggle. And now that I have 2 at home and they're picky and it's not what I want to eat and I come home from work and I'm tired, isn't this always the question that we have? So how do you guys mix it up, or how do you decide what to do? We need ideas.
Oh my goodness, that is the key question. Our lives are always just everywhere, I feel like. But for me, we do meal planning.
Okay.
And when our lives are revolving around meal planning, we don't have to worry about it. We make it on Sunday and schedule it for the rest of the week, and then do grocery shopping for those specific things. And it helps with financial budgets.
Okay.
And it helps with picky eaters as well. Or,
Okay, so let's get into the specifics, because I feel like this this woman wants specifics. So it is Sunday night and you have a piece of paper, you have the computer, walk us through it a little bit.
Yeah, so usually we have a list. I have a list of I don't even know. I want to say 60 different recipes we've made over
that you just
space,
have from your
that
family.
I just have for my family, for my husband's family, things that my kids will eat. And then we go through that and we've marked off things that we've already eaten throughout the month, or things that the kids have been asking for. A big one is taco casserole for my son is his favorite one. It's just something that we can throw together. But other things are things that are special birthday dinners or whatever we have to put together. So on that list, we continue and then just say, okay, what's something that we have in our freezer that we can use? Yeah. And then we say, what's something that we can utilize for the next week? Or because if there's a birthday, like I said, coming up, you want to use something else. Mm-hmm. So you're not constantly buying a ton of stuff. You just have it readily available and it's done. So
I like that because it's organized and it's an intentional day of the week where you're we're going to take care of this for the whole week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you have it taken care of. And sometimes what I've done in the past where I have a little extra time is I'll make it and then freeze it. And then a lot of people do that as the freezer meals. I don't know if you guys have ever done those or not.
Yeah. So what do you guys do?
Make it easier.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's actually like a thing that I struggle every week, even like today. What am I going to do for dinner? I really, honestly, because I don't get off work till late, and so Costco's been like my life-saving, that rotisserie chicken that we can do so many different ways. I try to, now that my kid's a little bit older, the 10-year-olds, I try to get them involved a little bit more because oftentimes I'll cook something and somebody's like, hey, I just want mac and cheese. I just want dino nuggets because nothing you cooked was yummy. So it's like, all right, now you're old enough. I try to make them get involved a little bit, keeping the simple meals where they can maybe help cooking and help get that involved and then they can choose out for that day and the other one really have to eat it because the next day they get to choose their own whatever, because I have one that
they take turns.
Yeah, so I have one that loves spaghetti, one that absolutely hates it. They're twins, so they have to hate whatever the other person loves.
Sure. I didn't realize that was, okay, that makes sense.
So we'll try to still make that, and the next day we'll make the one that one loves teriyaki chicken, the other one just do not like it, one likes ramen. So we try to make so everybody gets their day, so they get their meal, and I try to teach them how to make that meal, the best way possible. Usually we try to do either crock pot or Instant Pot, not too much stove work, because I'll forget. And I'll try to do that maybe in the morning right before they go to school. So
have your twins always been like that though?
When they start learning how to, probably when they're 5, I think, when they didn't want to be dressed alike anymore. So.
So this is a way to express their independence.
Yes,
kids will come up with some.
I hate ramen. I love ramen. I hate spaghetti. I love spaghetti. I was like, well, today's ramen and tomorrow's spaghetti.
But sometimes it goes day to day, doesn't it? Like sometimes they're like, I really want chicken nuggets, and the next day they're like, I hate that, and you're like, okay. You got to tell me what you like today.
Right. You're like, but I got all this stuff for it because you said you loved it. You
you have to be very willing to change up whatever as well with the meal planning. Because like I said, there's days where I'm not going to eat that. They refuse. So.
But I always say that the kids won't starve. I mean, I just put them in the fridge.
That's the thing. It's a privilege.
Yeah, I was like, you'll find something when you're truly hungry. So
fed is best still applies.
It's almost harder, I think. Well, harder in a different way. Now that my kids are older and there's fewer of us, because now I became used to cooking for 7 people, and now there's only 3 people in my home that eat dinner consistently. But usually one of them doesn't like it or already ate because their schedules change all the time and they don't always tell me, and so that has been a huge shift because I'm so used to cooking for a lot, and now to go from 7 to 2 is a little bit harder in planning. I thought, oh no, this should be easier because it's not like I have to make more. But you don't want to make a lasagna and then be eating that every day for a whole week. It's then you're like, oh yeah, do I freeze it or whatever? Yeah. So it's been a total shift in how I've done it. When I was growing up, my mom would try to. There were 5 kids in our family, and she would try to be she's like, I just try to keep the guessing out of it. And Monday is soup, Tuesday's chicken, Wednesday's Mexican. Thursday's Italian or whatever, just so you had that in mind. So it kind of cut down your choices.
Yeah. I think it's hard with my kids, different age and different schedule. One eats early, one's at basketball, one's at soccer, one's whatever.
Yeah, you have
and it's
dinner
very
at
difficult.
4 or at
10.
Or 10.
So I really have to have a meal that stays well for a long time that can reheat and warm. And the kids, I have a dream of having dinner together every night, but
isn't that our
that was my dream when I had the
want
newborn.
us to all hold hands and dream. What would that be? Yeah. But how can we accomplish it?
Yeah, but reality is that's more like a Sunday we can get that, but other days are pretty challenging. But that's okay. And they all seem like they're happy.
I think this is so funny. I think being a new mom, I have such a different perspective in this, and just working and doing school. When I get to cook, I'm like, I get to cook.
And it's exciting, and we don't want to take that away from you.
Yeah, and it's just I get to try something new, and I think something that really does inspire me to cook or try something new. I think it just reminds me of the lab and being very precise, but weighing things out on the grams. I know that's so dumb, but it's
no,
just,
I think it's so interesting.
Time.
It's Life in Chemistry, the new TV show that was a book, and it's she's a chemist, but then she's a great cook, and it's duh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just love. I think it's just my time away from school and all that stressful and work and things, and so baking macaroons. Oh, it's it's my hobby. I love it. Or just learning. Going to the other day, I went to Ocean Mart, which is this Asian supermarket. Yeah. And I just tried the new sweet potato noodles. I'm I'm gonna learn how to cook this, and I did. And you just try new things. You learn how to do it, and you're okay. And you find the websites with all the recipes that are very similar, and you just, I don't know. I love cooking.
I like that
It's a
attitude
little
though
brave.
of like and bringing your kids in on it. I think that choice sort of helps them. For just a minute, I tried to have like each one of my kids, okay, you get to choose, what you want for that night. We'll get the ingredients. It didn't work out for me. I'm not saying that it wouldn't work out, but like just to even gather, okay, it's your night. Let's make this together. Where's the recipe? Get the ingredient. And, they weren't maybe as enthused as they were when they planned it, and it ended up being more work. But I like the idea of them, taking responsibility for that or being
it can
excited.
be messy, it can be messy.
Yeah.
It won't be perfect. And
Yeah.
I think the idea was my children kind of learning like, oh, actually it takes a lot of work to put something together rather than complain, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat that. It's like, well, we did spend a lot of time. And when they start doing like, wow, this is like 20 steps to get to this place. It's like, I know.
But it tastes good.
Yeah, so I think hopefully they can learn a little bit of appreciation rather than like, I don't want to eat this.
I wish my kids had a more sophisticated palate, but I don't know if this is a real scientific equation, but it felt like the longer I spent on a recipe, the less likely my kids were able to eat it. But the more likely that my husband and I would have loved to eat it. Like,
You have a different appreciation. for it.
I have But I don't like the idea of like, being a short order cook and making something individually for everybody.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I just want to make one thing and then be done with it. I usually tell my kids there's cereal sandwiches. Like, if you don't like what you're making, then there's always that. And my son lives on peanut butter and jelly, so.
Okay.
And he's fine. He's taller than my husband almost, so. And it's an effective thing.
Yeah. Have you found any good resources like online or with other friends and things that you've thought, oh, maybe I'll try that out?
Yeah, a few years ago, my best friend and I, we did a recipe swap. We've done that before. Or you can create a Pinterest board and your friends can collaborate. My group of friends in my neighborhood, we have a group, I think it's like favorite recipes or something, I can't remember off the top of my head, but we post what we've had for dinner that day and then you put the recipe and then you have so many different recipes together.
Oh, that's a great idea. Just at your fingertips.
And they're good recipes because they're your friends. You know
you
what I
trust
mean?
them.
It's like with my sister, she's like, I just made this chicken pot pie. I'm like, send me the recipe.
I know.
Yeah, like if you're mentioning it to me, it must be good.
And if your kids ate it, then that's like the winner of it, right? Like,
Yeah, my sister gave me a cookbook where she and her friends got like their very, very best recipes, like from their grandma, like the one, the tried and true, and they put it in a recipe book. And she gave me one, and it's probably the recipe book that I use the most because that every recipe in there is good.
Yeah, the ones with the stains on them that have like all the things
They've
on
been
it,
through
those are the
life.
best. Yeah, they have a little bit of like personality to it.
What is your philosophy overall for like your kids and nutrition and stuff like that? I always thought they're going to eat what I put out and, the food pyramid and balanced diet. And now the food pyramid has changed. I have a kid who's I have two kids who are vegetarians who just do not like meat, need to find their protein. So what I'm saying is I eat my own words, right? Like you think, no, it's just going to be simple and straightforward. It doesn't always end up that way. So what has been like your guiding philosophy, like with nutrition or meal prep for your kids?
I think that because my husband is gluten intolerant, and that's a big thing for a lot of families. And gluten intolerance, like gluten food with no gluten in it, I should say, doesn't always taste the best. Yeah. And so finding recipes that are very accommodating for that is something that we have to do. But I think that for kids, nutrition is just honestly, they're going to be eating whether healthy or not healthy, if you know it or don't know it. And as long as you know that they're eating, like, I think that's the best advice to give is, like, just make it so that they're happy with what they're eating and then they'll enjoy food. Don't make it something that it's a chore to do.
Or a fight.
Or a fight, right? Because, there's so many different things that can happen because of food or I don't know. Anyway, that's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think, I was born in a village in China, very poor. We never had food, we didn't have electricity or running water, and I was there for first 9 years of my life. So with my children, it's unfortunate, they obviously live in a very different environment than I did, but I always try to let them know that, we're grateful to have any food here. My village out there, or many, the billions of people on the planet don't even have any food. So that's kind of a way to start. I usually make sure my children don't waste any food, even if they don't like, unless I have one of my girls obviously allergic to peanuts and all that, but otherwise I say as long as you're not allergic, like you're gonna try it, and try different variety, because I can always take you back to my village. It's not really fun.
Hey, you can't argue with mom on this one, buddy.
So, and they apparently don't. They say like that. I'll just eat whatever's on my plate, even if they're not happy. But just knowing that you actually have food is more than a lot of the people in the world. So.
I think that's so powerful too. My mom actually immigrated from the Philippines. And it's just like so interesting. I mean, like I can't give much input because my baby's still on breast milk. So she's still on the liquid diet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just like growing up with my mom with, like we never really went out to eat. And when we did, it was like, because we went shopping and today's our special day, but like eating my mom's Filipino home cooked meals, like so good. And I don't remember being picky. I don't remember fighting, but I'm so thankful my mom showed us that and showed us like her culture and everything. Now I'm like, food means so much to us. Whenever someone comes over, we're feeding them. And it's just such a powerful tool in a sense.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I feel like food is a superpower for parents to bring their kids together because it engages all the senses, and so
it's
it
a
helps you.
generational thing too.
It's a generational. It ties families together.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just know there's certain recipes, like you were saying that cookbook, there's certain recipes that just bring you home too, that you just know. And it may be the like fattiest whatever in the whole entire world, but it just gives you comfort, and it's the comfort that you want your kids to have is knowing that they're loved in the end, right?
Right.
That's all that anybody ever wants. And so, comfort.
My
food.
sister, her wedding cake was a dulce de leche roll that my mom had learned from her mother-in-law, my dad's mother, who had learned it in Argentina. So whenever we have that, whenever I have dulce de leche, like I always think of my grandmother, and I think about how, she grew up in Mexico and then lived in Argentina. And it just, I don't know, it ties me to her as a person. Whereas, whether you're thinking about them or not, right? Do you know what I mean? Like you feel like, oh, that's part of what it is. There is that kind of, and I often wonder what my kids, I'm almost like laughing, like what my kids will be like, this reminds me of my mom.
That's so
like
funny.
Spaghetti. Like, I don't like, I'm from Nebraska, I live in Utah. Like, what is a fry sauce? Like, I'm just trying to think, like, what flavors, or they will connect. Like, it might have been a tool that I have not utilized correctly.
Right.
That is so, like, the getting married, and, like, my husband's like, this is my favorite meal, and it's goulash. I'm like, what is it? He's like, pasta, ketchup, and ground beef. I'm like,
my grandma used to make goulash, but they'd add corn to it, too, and I remember thinking, this is weird.
But he loves it, like, for his birthday, he's like, Mom, can you make me goulash? I'm like,
see, it is like, it's
really like a love
comforting.
language.
It is a love language.
For
I
almost
think so.
every culture, and it doesn't have to be, you don't even have to even speak the actual language, but you can really feel that. So that's something that's...
It's just, the one thing that all of us have in common is
we love food.
Yes.
We
all love food. Everybody wants to choose different places to eat and different things to go out together with, and I think that's the big thing, like you're saying.
So do you have like a family dish where you're like, oh, this is so our family.
So
we always eat this.
I don't know. My family owned a restaurant. My half-siblings, their family owned a restaurant in Provo.
Oh, wow.
And we used to go and eat there. It was called El Azteca Taco Shop. And so we used to eat there. That's like the bread and butter of that side of my family. So my mom's Canadian, and my dad's Hispanic, and so we have both integrated in it. So for that side, I think that, taquitos is always so good, like the best. Or like on my mom's side, it's like, the bread my grandma used to make, like that's just as home for us. So yeah.
I love that.
And then my kids, I have recipes that I make. Like I said, my taco casserole is my son's favorite. And then my toddler, he only eats, fish, crackers, and cookies. That's all
Yeah,
I
that's
eat.
my
She eats
18-year-old.
fish.
So yeah, very common.
They don't grow out of it. Everyone said he'd grow out of it. He didn't.
Not him.
Nope.
Toddlers and teenagers are very similar.
Yeah. They are, aren't they? It's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
And you never want it to be a fight, right? Like with food. I don't want to give my kids like these, issues of like, you have to clean your plate or I don't know, or like
That pressure.
shame them into like that. But you do want to encourage like healthy habits. Like I'm always trying to encourage like enough protein because kids need protein to grow and build muscles and cells and all the things. And so
Or try one bite at least.
yeah, I was
right?
going
If
to
you
say,
don't like it,
what's
that's
your
okay. Yeah.
strategy for that? Of like encouraging them to have, good healthy habits without making them too fixated on food. What do you guys do?
That's a hard one because
is.
it's kind of a battle that you said, like, how much you want to fight the battle. So I try to create, like you, Lisa, I'm not known for my cooking. So my story is when we got married, when we were like college, moving to San Francisco, and I'm like, I'll cook for my husband, newlyweds. Well, I work and I don't really know anything about cooking. I thought like baking broil is the same thing. I have no idea. Like I went to Whole Foods, got this steak to cook a nice dinner, and I put the steak. I'm like, I think I pressed boil, and I thought it was the same thing and bake for like 40 minutes or something. For like 4 hours. I was like, yeah, let's do that. And I didn't even pay attention. Obviously, it was, my husband came in as like complete black, Yeah. He's like, what a romantic dinner. Let's just do popcorn. He's like, what did you do with the steak? I was like, well, I put it in the oven, and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, did you press broil? I was like, what is that? Oh,
What does that
is
mean?
Like, they're put both be. So
Oh my
anyways, so, I don't have a lot of those, but
That's funny.
I have a lot of cookbooks in my kitchen, but I actually don't know how to use them. I don't know how to follow directions very well and patient, but I do like to look at them.
Yeah,
So,
they're pretty.
yeah. So my kids, it's so because sometimes I will be picky as well, so I can't tell them every little thing. So I think I kind of maybe pick my battles a little bit if it's just like a different meat and they just didn't want to try it. Like they don't want to try the meatloaf because it looks, my
Looks a
son
little
said looks like a
different.
dog food. And I was like,
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It tastes good.
that's exactly. So I would try that. I was like, you're right. But just taste the bite. He's like,
Yeah, just try.
Yeah. So
It's been really fun to have my oldest, lives on his own and stuff. And he actually asked me for a couple of recipes last week. And I was like, what?
They mean something to
It's
you.
like, I need this recipe for these like runzas that I used to make. It was this like fast food where I grew up. They're just like these cabbage buns. Like it sounds gross, but they're really good. And he wanted that recipe, and then he wanted like broccoli cheese soup or something. And I just thought, okay, so maybe he wasn't the most enthusiastic, eater, but now he's like, I want to save money. I want to start cooking. I want to get into this and learning that new skill. It was there somewhere, buried all along, right?
Like the game changes when you're an adult, Like
It
my
does.
husband was such a picky eater, and I think that kind of stemmed from his mom. But like now, I'm like, Kyle, do you want to try this? And he won't complain. He'll just try it. And I'm like, do you want it again? He's like, no.
But yeah, you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. I think I like this question because it's just so like, does it get better? And I've been thinking about that. Like, was it easier when they were little and they were all at home? Was it easier when they were teenagers and you could negotiate? Was it easier now? I don't know if it's easier. It just gets a little bit trickier. It's harder to get everybody
They're different challenges
together. And I love all of the research that comes about it, about having family dinner and how important it is as much as you can, and it helps them feel like emotionally resilient and secure, and I love all that. So it also reminds me it's about getting together to eat, not necessarily what you're eating.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like that's I sort of let myself off the hook when my kids I thought, oh, this is just like boiled noodles and some jarred sauce. Like, this is nothing. But it's like, it doesn't matter because we're all together.
It's the connection of it.
We're connecting. We're talking about our day. We're checking in with each other. We're creating memories there.
I absolutely agree because, like you said, when you get these busy kids, as long as I can get them in the car together.
Yeah.
Hey, if we go to Chick-fil-A, we have the meal in our car, but we can talk through about their days, and it's all about being there together and then being there. It doesn't have to be me on the stove.
Yeah.
Work hours like my parents and my mom used to do when they were little. So
There's a great game that we've just found. It's by a company called Limitary, and they make connection it's a gathering game where you gather and answer questions from this card game, and we love reading them and just really asking deep questions and getting into it.
Wait, is it called the Ungame?
No, no. They're just gathering. It's a way to gather your family together. Connection cards. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, you just choose different ways to connect, and you can connect on different levels, from grandparents to, not little ones, obviously toddlers, but a way to bring the generations together, and my kids love it. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
On top of that one, I've seen where I really do with my kids, because one thing I've learned, we talked earlier, is that every kid is different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you read kind of the love language, between like you and your spouse, I kind of try to do with my children.
Yeah.
And I try to understand, like, what is their love language? Because some of them really want to be appraised.
Yeah.
Some people just want to be, like, maybe noticed. Or some people just, actually, I just want a service. So I try to find ways to do that. And sometimes even with the food, because someone's like, I don't want to be in the kitchen. I don't want to do this. It's like, okay, that's okay. Let's figure out what your, like, love language. And I think that's a way to, and you'd be surprised how different they are.
Yeah, and even if they're twins.
Even if they're polar opposites.
It turns out they're different people.
Yeah. So that was found an easier way to connect with them rather than trying to apply my same rules.
Right.
Yeah.
The connection.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It's so hard to know, like, what you're doing, I think, if it's right or wrong, that you can sort of, like, get in your own way about it sometimes. And I think food is one that is, like, you can be too critical, I think, sometimes of your, there's frozen meals, there's recipe swaps, there's websites, there's lots of, there's meal delivery services. I mean, there's so many different kinds of ways to solve the problem. But I think that, like, for this question, just knowing, like, those, if you're worried about, like, the Groundhog Day, like, it's every day being the same, it's okay to mix it up.
Yeah, and it's okay to have the same thing as well. Like, if that's what you can do what you can do. Don't expect yourself to do more than you can do, because as moms, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to be doing everything, but you can't do everything. So just do the best that you can, and you're going to crush it. So,
well said.